All right, for the past about year now, or maybe even more, we've been going through the different periods of music. So we've ended that last couple months ago. We finished the last period. So we're going to go through a little bit of an overview, kind of looking about a little bit of each period of music and how it formed the music that we have today. Okay? But first, let's review the 7 different periods of music. So first we have the medieval period that we're talking about, then the Renaissance, the Baroque, classical, romantic, impressionist, and modern. All right, so first we have the medieval period that was from around 500 to 1450 AD. So that's Anno Domini, so that is after Christ. And then, let's see. So the medieval period from 500 to 1400 marks the beginning of Western music, and most of that music was created for the church, and many people would just sing the music instead of using any instruments. So it would basically be everybody singing, no instruments, and so that was meant to help people pray and focus. It was calm and pretty simple, using only voices. That was called the Gregorian chants. As music developed, composers began experimenting with polyphony, which means multiple melodies sung together. So until this point, everybody was just singing the melody. And then polyphony from John Dunstable actually helped start what music we have today. So there was the soprano, alto, tenor, bass, different things like that. The harmonies, and then it was also able to help smooth the melodies that influenced many across Europe. At the end of the period, music had grown to include harmony, where different notes are sung or played together. This added depth and emotion, blending voices and instruments in new ways. The development of harmony was a major step towards the complex music we enjoy today. And that's a little painting of John Dunstable that started the polyphony there. So we're going to be listening to next John Dunstable's Quam Putra Es. I'm not sure what that means, but just singing. It's basically just everybody singing the polyphony there. Okay? All right, so that's a little tidbit of some music from the medieval period. What did you notice that they did not have? Yes, they didn't have any instruments at that point. So obviously there was instruments there, but they were usually played separately and they weren't put with singing then. Okay. All right. The second period is the Renaissance period. Went from about 1450 to 1600. The Renaissance period from 1400 to 1600 was a time of great change in the music. Composers started to focus on making music sound more beautiful using the polyphony that John Dunstable had created. This was the age of polyphony, multiple melodies put together, and a significant portion of the Renaissance music was composed for a cappella choirs, which means without instrument accompaniment, which is what we did in the medieval period. This type of music often featured intricate vocal harmonies and intricate counterpoint. Let's see there. Gonna totally botch his name, but Guillaume Dufay from 1397 to 1474, was a Franco-Flemish composer known for his choral music and masses. He was one of the most influential composer of the Impressionist period. And then another person, we don't have a picture of him, but Jocelyn des Prez was another Franco-Flemish composer who is often regarded as one of the greatest composers of the Renaissance. He composed both sacred and secular music and was known for his intricate polyphonic works, that meaning multiple voices at once. Thomas Tallis was another English composer who composed a wide range of sacred music, including vocal works and hymns. He's particularly known for his Spem in Alium, a 40-voice motet, which means a sacred choral music. So we're going to listen to that one next. Song has 40 different people singing at the same time. All right, so that's a little bit of that one. All right, so until now, what are you always hearing instead of instruments is voices. Yep. So until the Baroque period, people basically just sang and didn't really use any instruments. But now we're getting into the Baroque period. Happened around 1600 to 1600 to 1750. The Baroque period was a time of drama and new emotion in the music. Composers like J.S. Bach, pictured here, Handel, and Vivaldi explored powerful new styles, creating forms like the concerto, sonata, and opera. Opera is when people sing to music, obviously. Music became more complex with strong contrasts between loud and soft or fast and slow. This era also saw the rise of counterpoint, where two different melodies were woven together and were able to be harmonized together. That's something that J.S. Bach really put into place there. But there's two different melodies that are played at the same time that sound great together, and you play them very fast. The harpsichord, a key instrument of the Baroque era, produced sounds by plucking the strings up here using a little pick. It's not like the piano, though, because the piano actually uses little hammers to hit the strings. This actually plucked the strings, almost like a harp. But there was a problem about the harpsichord. Well, not that. That's just how they decided to color it. But it lacked dynamic range, which means that it lacked like louds and softs for playing the harpsichord, because when you press down a key, it would pluck it, and it didn't matter how hard you plucked it, or how hard you pressed down the key, or how light you plucked it. It would still pluck the same string, not really changing any dynamics, okay? So that means that it couldn't play loud or soft like the piano can. It also, the sound decayed quickly, requiring that it had to be constantly moving. The music had to be constantly moving. Other stringed instruments like the violin and viola. Has anybody heard of the violin or viola? Yeah, maybe. Yes, those were also widely used. They were widely used, adding richness to the Baroque compositions. Despite its limitations, composers wrote music that highlighted the harpsichord's unique qualities. They developed complex, expressive works that continue to inspire musicians. The Baroque period laid the foundation for innovations that shaped the classical era. Our piano tuner that comes every once in a while, he says that he tunes harpsichord, and one thing that he says is that basically every time that you play it, you have to retune it because it's very hard to keep it in tune. Probably because of the nylon strings or something like that. But all right, so next we are going to play Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and I picked winter because there's still snow outside. So, all right. All right, we're gonna stop there for sake of time. All right, so that's a little bit of what the Baroque era brought us. All right, next is the classical era. Uh, Fourth one, classical era from 1750 to around 1820 there. All right, so this man, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, was probably, him and Beethoven were one of the most influential composers of the classical period. The classical period, starting from 1750 and lasting to 1820, was a time when music became more elegant, clear, and balanced. Composers moved away from the complexity of the Baroque era, instead focusing on creating simple and more beautiful melodies and clear structures. This period emphasized order and formality, reflecting the ideas of the Enlightenment, a time where people valued reason and harmony. So they stayed very strictly into rules, which we'll find out later didn't stay for long. New forms of music, like the symphony, sonata, and string quartet, became very popular, and composers like Mozart, pictured here, and Haydn wrote music that was fun and emotional, with changes between loud and soft or happy and sad. Let's see. During this time, the forte piano replaced the harpsichord. The forte piano could play soft and loud, making it better for expressive music. This period also set the stage for Beethoven, which music led into the more emotional Romantic period. Um, One thing I would note here: this is slightly smaller than the pianos that we have now. This usually had about 4 to 5 octaves. So that's probably one of the big main differences of the forte piano now versus the piano that we have today. All right, so that was one of the main differences between the forte piano and the piano. I did not mean to write the harpsichord there. This is forte piano. Anyways, all right, so we're going to listen to a piece written by Mozart, the Symphony Number 4 in G minor. See how they had a lot more dynamics and expression than the Baroque period did. Stop around there. We need to get some more important composers that I love. Yeah, that was just the beginning. All right. So, as you could hear in that last piece, as you could hear in that last piece, there was a lot more dynamic, a lot more emotion getting into the classical and even some of the Baroque era, right? So they were adding music into singing sometimes, such as operas and stuff like that. But as we get more into different eras, we're going to figure out that the tonality and the structure of music that started in the classical and Baroque era is going to be broken a little bit in these coming eras. So the Romantic period, starting in 1820 and ending around 1900, this era deeply focused on the emotion, imagine, and storytelling of the music. And these composers during this time decided that they did not want to stick to the normal structure and rules of the classical period. Morgan? All right, so they ended up breaking some rules, which you'll hear in a couple later pieces. So they didn't stick to any of these rules per se. They wanted to instead express their deep feelings and often found inspiration in nature, poetry, and different personal experiences. Talking about how they broke away from the structure. Example, in Schubert's Unfinished Symphony, soft clarinet tones are interrupted by strings in dramatic outbursts, reflecting Schubert's emotions and state of mind. So people during the Romantic period decided that they would rather play based on their feelings rather than rules. Downfall a little bit. The Romantic music was passionate and very free-flowing, using new harmonies and extreme dynamics to evoke powerful emotions. Orchestras grew a lot larger hence adding more instruments like the tuba and the harp and expanded percussion to create richer, more colorful sounds. The modern piano was very important during this time. This is basically what they used from the Romantic period up to now. So they kind of ditched the pianoforte, updated a little bit, and then they decided to make the piano that we know and love today. The modern piano was essential because of its stronger frame and the wider range, allowing for more expressive music. Remember, the pianoforte, I already told you guys, it had about 4 to 5 octaves, whereas the piano that we have now has about 7 octaves that you could play.
What else do you see that's missing? The pianoforte doesn't have what? Pedals, right?
Mm-hmm. So now people were able to hold the pieces longer because the damper pedal would lift up all of the dampers, which would then be able to allow a more flowing sound. And obviously it was a bigger part. And then they also added this thing inside of the piano. It was an iron case right there. It was able to hold a lot more tension in the strings, which meant that they were able to get definitely a lot lower and then a lot higher for that as well. Let's see, I think I got that. Okay, and then there was a person during the Romantic era. There was a lot of great composers that I love to listen to all the time. But one of them is known by his huge hands, hence using them in his music. Some of his music is very hard to play because of his hands. Anyways, this man's name, Sergei Rachmaninoff, was a Russian composer of the late Romantic period, extended Romanticism's rich and emotional style into the 20th century, while also adding modern influences. Renowned by his wonderful piano works, he crafted lush melodies, dramatic chords, and some of his wonderful intricate runs that push the piano to its limits. Masterpieces like the Piano Concerto No. 2 and Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini shows his unmatched ability to combine emotional depth with technical brilliance. So we're going to listen to one of Rachmaninoff's pieces, which is my favorite Rachmaninoff concerto, and then we're going to listen to another piece by Tchaikovsky, which was alive around the same time, both of them being one of my top favorite songs in the Romantic period, probably of all time. So this is the Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 in C minor. Playing the second movement? No, this is not Rachmaninoff. No, he's dead. Yes, he's not alive. Since this part is about 11 and a half minutes long, I'm going to skip towards the end to a certain part that I personally, it's probably my favorite part, also for sake of time. So that's one that I would probably advise you to listen to later. It's a wonderful, wonderful concerto. And then the next one is Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto Number 1. This one has a very powerful introduction. This is Lang Lang, yes. Yes, this person is live. No, he was dead while he was playing it. Yes, he's live. What? Yeah, I know. That's the reason that I picked this one. I like to replace it. How much time do we have? How much time? 10. All right, we still have two more eras to go through, but I would, if you want to listen to them later and you forgot the names of them, you can ask me afterwards. But those are probably one of the two of my favorite songs ever, like written by any of the composers. So those are amazing pieces, wonderful phenomenons that these composers wrote. All right, this Impressionist period actually overlapped the Romantic period. The Romantic period went until around 1900. This overlapped by about 10 to 15 years. Some may say that this is wrong, but yeah. So the Impressionist period went from around 1890 to 1910, so not super long. The Romantic period also wanted to focus on emotion, imagination, and storytelling. Composers wanted to express feelings and wanted to make their songs sometimes sound dreamy and colorful, using soft and flowing melodies. Inspired by Impressionist painters like Monet, they wrote pieces that felt like paintings made with sound. So it would be almost like looking at a painting and then songs from that painting. Yes, Starry Night, I believe that's what it's called. All right, so composers like Claude Debussy used new sounds and harmonies such as the whole tone scales and unresolved chords, basically meaning that it doesn't sound complete yet, to create music that felt mysterious and magical. He experimented with unique combinations of instruments to produce shimmering, dreamlike tones, crafting music that seemed to float almost effortlessly. And then another composer from the Impressionist period, Maurice Ravel, from 1875 to 1937, was a French composer whose works are celebrated for their elegance and colorful texture. One of his most famous pieces, Pavane for a Dead Princess, is a gentle and nostalgic work, originally written for solo piano and later it was orchestrated. Despite its title, Ravel clarified that his piece was not meant to mourn anybody's passing, but to instead evoke the grace and beauty of a princess in a distant, imaginary past. It remains one of his most beloved compositions, showcasing his mastery of delicate melodies and rich harmonies. This might not be a song that any of you guys have ever heard before, but next playing is Ravel's Pavane for a Dead Princess. It's almost like a celebration of life, per se. Celebration of life. So he didn't want to make it sound super sad.
this.
All right, we'll stop there. We have one more era to complete before we switch, and we only have about 5 more minutes. So, maybe 4. Okay, so this modern era, or the 20th and 21st century, starts at around 1900, 1910, and actually goes to now. So we are currently in the modern era of music. The modern period of music, from 1900 to present, was a time of experimentation and breaking free from any of the old traditions. Composers wanted to explore new sounds, creating music that was bold, unpredictable, and often unconventional. They moved away from the harmony and structure of some of the early periods, using techniques like atonality, basically meaning that there wasn't really any specific scale that they were keeping on, and it was basically throughout the whole entire piano or instrument, and complex rhythms to push boundaries. So one person, we're not going to listen to any of his music because his music is kind of wacky. Played it a couple months ago, but this is John Cage, a man that tended to make some weird music. Like, one of his music names was 433, and it was basically where someone sits down at a piano and plays nothing for 4 minutes and 33 seconds, because he thinks that everything is music, and I honestly do not believe that. But anyways, this is John Cage experimenting with some nuts and bolts inside of the piano strings. And then there was another one of him playing music inside of he was playing music on a piano that had water inside. Let's just say he probably destroyed a lot of expensive instruments, but that's what he thought was cool. So he was experimenting with different sounds in music, and he would also use water and stuff like that. Another song you should probably look up is John Cage's Water Walk. It's very different, per se. Yeah, so look up John Cage if you want to see some weird music. It's definitely not something that you'd think of as classical music. New technologies also became important, with composers experimenting with electronic instruments and recording techniques, such as here. It's a very blurry picture from who knows when, but this is a picture of one of Edison's phonographs, a device used to record a composer's piece to be replayed later. So this is one of the eras. Besides, I think, the Impressionist era, you could also do this. I do not know. Probably before them, because it was black and white. But yeah, so this was one of the first eras where people were able to play their music and then have it replayed back. New technologies such as this also found a rise, and also there were some unique styles from the dissonant works of Arnold Schoenberg, which started the atonality, to the rhythmic energy of Stravinsky. Modern music often reflected the changing world, capturing the excitement and tension of the 20th century. Let's see. Modernist music and romantic music also introduced something called nationalism. Nationalism, in simple terms, is music that composers write to highlight their country's culture. So maybe by folk songs, dances, and national themes. It became popular in the 19th and early 20th centuries as a way to express their pride in their country. Composers like Shostakovich and other composers during this time used their music to reflect the traditions, struggles, and spirit of their homeland. So, something that we could say is nationalist music would be something such as the Star Spangled Banner or something like that. That's something that someone wrote, and it's supposed to remind you of America. That's kind of what people here are playing and doing with their music. Romantic and modern music also introduced a person called Dmitri Shostakovich. I do not know who that is. He was Russian. He was Russian. He was known for his powerful and emotional music, often reflecting the struggles of life under the Russian Soviet rule. Who is doing that? Whatever. Okay. One of his pieces called the Waltz Number 2, often hidden messages of resistance and hope during the Soviet Union, making it both deeply personal and politically charged. This next piece is Shostakovich's Waltz Number 2. You have? All right. Do we have time for another one or no? Okay. All right. So this last one, it definitely shows the atonality. Okay. All right. So there was one more that we were gonna show, but this one kind of shows the atonality of kind of mixing everything around. So if you want to listen later to the Rite of String by Stravinsky, it shows definitely what the modern music period was all about. Anyways, this is the conclusion of the overview of music. So we're kind of able to hear the evolution of how music began and how music has grown and changed in style. So.
Just run. Just run.
Find a seat. Come to the front first. Fill up the front. Fill up the front first, please.
Okay.
Come to the front or second row. Front and second row right now until it's filled. You can fit one more person up here. Fill up the first two rows. First two. Yes. Okay, one person can come up here. One person up here. Somebody come up here.
I am Jordan. What's Jordan?
I need you guys to come to the front first. We've got adults too for the back. You're fine. I have a seat up here. Somebody come up here. Frederick, come up here, please.
No.
Or, yeah, never mind. You got it. Thank you. You got a seat in the middle. Come and sit right there. So sit down a bit. Okay.
Michael Johnson.
There's a bench over there.
Is there Michael Johnson?
Hey, go over here.
Michael Jackson?
No, Michael Jordan.
There's
Do you even know a basketball player? Okay, we got everybody. Yay.
Jackson.
Alright, we're going to start, so let's not talk anymore. Keep it quiet. Okay, thank you. So, in the other group, raise your hand if you want to tell me what you learned about. What did we talk about in the other group? Rosalind, go ahead.
We talked about different genres and what happens at different times.
Different times of music? Yes. Evolution of music. Go ahead.
We learned about the different eras of music, such as the classical, modern, Baroque, or Baroque, as one of the kids called it.
Okay, and it kind of looks like that. Anybody else want to add to that? Yes, go ahead.
That modern music is very different from like medieval music.
Yeah, definitely. Good. You got another one?
Yeah. Piano forte and the piano we have right now are very different.
The piano before. This is actually called the piano forte or the forte piano, but we shorten it to piano. Why is it called forte piano or piano forte? Yeah, go ahead. Because it can play soft and loud. Good. And before it was called the harpsichord, and then there were some other ones. But today we have the piano, or the keyboard is another modern version. Okay.
There's a bunch of dirt with the keyboard.
Yes, there is a lot of dirt. We can't do much about it though. It's just part of life right now. Okay, we're gonna get started.
Sweep it?
Well, not right now.
Just
Alright, listen, we're going to talk about composing. What is composing? It is when you
Make your own music.
make your own music, write your own music, right? And we call somebody who makes music a composer. You left something in here? Okay.
Oh, we call them an artist.
Music artist, but the official name is composer for the most part. What do you look like? What does it look like? Okay, does anybody see a hair clip near them? I already got it going. No hair clips? Maybe after the session we can come here.
It does open.
We'll come and look later. Alright, you open it. Yep, go ahead. Alright, listen up. This upcoming recital in May, we are going to have some of you, if you would like to, compose your own song. Not everybody has to do this, but if you would like to, we're going to help you through that process. But I'm going to talk a little bit about composing. We'll answer questions later. Okay, so how to compose. Composing is like being an author, but instead of writing stories with words, don't tip your bench. Instead of writing stories with words, you write stories with music. When someone composes music, they create their own melodies and songs. It's like using building blocks to make something unique. You choose which notes to use, and then lost my place, how fast or slow they should go, and which instruments might play them. This lets you share what you're feeling inside through the sounds you create. Think of your favorite song. Don't touch it. Someone had to think of all the parts of that song and decide how they all fit together, just like a puzzle. And just like you can draw a picture or write a story, you can also create your own music. That's what composers do. They pick out different notes, they pick out different music, they put it together, and they create a song. Every song you play had to be composed by somebody, right? Nothing just is there. So, same thing with music. Somebody had to make the music, right? Okay, has anybody in here ever written a song before? Played a song that Kinley has, never been written before, you have? Okay, so a few of you have. Maybe you go to the piano and you're like, I'm sure somebody's played that before, but you play something random, that's an idea. I've done something like that?
Yeah.
Cool.
I just make a bunch of songs, but I don't actually write them.
Right. Okay. So music can set the scene. Think of a movie. Think of a movie you watch. Maybe it's scary music. What does that normally mean? Does that normally mean there's a super happy scene about to happen? No. Normally that means music means something, right? If you've got, listen, I don't need a lot of talking. When there's happy music, I probably mean something happy is happening. So that shows you that music has a lot to do with what it's in. Okay, y'all are a bit distracting, not gonna lie. All right, listen, yeah, don't talk unless I call you. Okay, so one example is Beethoven's 6th Symphony. A lot of you have heard of the 5th Symphony. This is the 6th Symphony. It is known as the Pastoral Symphony, and it tells a story about a day in the countryside. So when Beethoven wrote this, he was thinking of the countryside. He had a story about the countryside. It has different movements or parts that describe scenes like arriving in the country, sitting by a stream, and even a thunderstorm. Each part uses different instruments and rhythms to create images in our minds, just like chapters in a book. So when you first create a song, go slow. You don't have to rush into it. Use your instrument. So some of you play violin, some of you play piano. Use your instrument to find a tune you like. If you want, add some harmony. So maybe you think of a tune. I'm going to play one that you guys all know. So there's your tune. But then maybe you want to add to it. Maybe you're going to go. Something like this. So you can do different things when you're creating your song, but you need to start with a melody, right? Okay, it may change each time you go to play it or you write it. Maybe you don't like something about the song you wrote, so you want to change it, and that's perfectly fine. I don't know if many composers probably write something and never change anything about it. What's some other things we can add to music so that it's not just your notes and your rhythm? What are some ideas? Go ahead.
Lyrics.
Yes, but I'm thinking more musical. You're just listening. Listening to just the music. Go ahead, Kim.
Dynamic.
Dynamics. That's exactly what I was thinking of. What are dynamics? Kim?
How loud or how soft?
Yes, loud or soft. You said that. Yep. Like piano, the fancy looking P that means to play quiet. The F means forte or loud. Do not scream. It means loud. You also have other ones like crescendo. Listen, crescendo means to gradually get louder. Decrescendo means to gradually get softer. So you add dynamics to your music so that it's not all boring. If you heard the song that was all the same volume and crashing, kind of get annoying. But if you had loud parts, soft parts, maybe fast parts, slow parts, those make a piece very unique and interesting. Okay, so I have an activity. There are a lot of you, so we're going to try and do this as orderly as we possibly can. Give me a second. I forgot where I put those. Okay. So, for my last group, I split, don't touch the guitars, I split into 3 different groups. Or not 3 different groups, groups of 3, that's what I was trying to say. So we're going to see how we do this. Some of the groups might have 2 or maybe 3 or 4. What we're going to do, so if there are 3 of you in a group, one of you, actually all of you can help write a story, but you're going to think of a story. Maybe it's you go to the beach and you have a nice day. Maybe it's you're in a race. Maybe it's a horse race. Think of something let's not do things like dying. But you think of a story. Somebody can be in charge of writing the story. Another person can be in charge of maybe creating a picture. Maybe you draw a picture, you can even color it. Okay, and then maybe if we have a third person, maybe that third person can also draw a picture. We can see the difference between the two. Different people can think of different things for a story. So I'm going to hand these out for everybody. If your strong suit is not drawing or writing a story, it's okay. We're not looking, this is not a talent show. It's okay. I'm not great at really either, but do your best. So I'm going to hand out the pieces of paper. They're recycled. Use that side. So don't crumple them up. Don't throw them.
Don't rip them.
They're not snowballs. I'm going to order.
Let's crumble them.
No, don't. I'll take away.
My man, high five.
Can you pass them down, please? Pass them down to the end. Yeah.
How about high
That way I don't have to stick back to pass them down. One more. Oh, never mind. We're ready. Okay. Pass them all the way down. And I'm about to split you into groups, so wait a second. I'll tell you which part of the group you're in.
You want a present?
Now you guys are like, alright. Listen up. I'm about to split you into groups. You're going to stay in your groups. I'm going to hand out pencils and stuff. Okay. You three are a group. So you need to figure out who's going to write the story, but you all can think of a story. Who's going to draw, color? That's your guys. For right now, you two are a group. I might add some.
I'll be the one that comes up.
You want to be a group? You three? Perfect. That's fine. You four are a group. Okay? So siblings and Sully, you're part of their group. You three are a group. Okay? Michael, Richard, and Nancy. And Roland, you guys are a group.
Alright, I'll write and I'll have an idea.
You four okay, so you four work together. I'm going to hand out pencils.
The rest of the story.
Oh, and we're going to listen to Beethoven's Sixth Symphony while we do this.
I have a question.
And I have an answer.
Black and Beethoven.
Beethoven. Have you heard of Beethoven?
Yeah, no, but I call him Beethoven.
Okay.
Alright, so I have an idea. Basically, it would be like a walk through the city. Walking in the city at night. Like a bustling city.
Stay with them, Sully.
No, bro.
It's a hard, it's like a hard surface.
Not only that, it's dirty. Wait, why can't we just draw this?
I was drawing here. Alright, I got the story. Yeah, we do. It's basically walking the city at night.
Are over here.
Walking the city during the basically something that's
Like this.
yeah, something like that. I need like a mood to specify the sound. Whether depressing or
Share. I don't have a bunch of erasers.
How about this one? Just pick some. This is so sharp. Look at how it's sharp at it. Look at how much sharp it is.
oh yeah, that could kill someone.
Yeah, let's do this one instead. Hi. Look at this one. You should hear it.
What's your spell? What did you guys decide?
Really good. The whole thing was about
Now, why do you want writing?
So
Stop! You're gonna
I got a story. Let's see, sky. You know what happens? Space, outer space. That way, sky.
What is the story about?
The story is about like walking through the city during the
This one's why I actually write it, because I don't want to actually know.
You want a surprise? What if he's watching
walking on what? Walking on a field and just singing at the same time.
No, like he's walking on
Like an empty photo. Okay, I mean story. So like the city park.
Not too much of guitar.
I'm drawing
Alright, I'll be writing the story.
Now you're be walking. Look at this. That's a hand. No, that's not a hand. That's a piece of grass. No. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Alright, you'll be part of the brainstorm. Maybe he's like trying to think of like other ideas for the story.
Why did you say you guys just
Or starting with walking in
I literally had named this year. That's what I'm son is it.
In about 4 or 5 minutes, maybe, try and quickly through this.
We are not here.
Do your best, even if you just have a story, have something.
We don't even got a story. We got the subject.
Take a picture, make something.
How do I make her a picture? It looks central in my head. Central ain't in my brain. Black hole. What's your name? Now. We're not going to
I already drawn the line.
That's right. Very good. Finish up. You got 2 minutes. Alright, there it is. Excuse me, Rosa. Behind you. Gotta grab this.